Estate is all about land and any other value that has been added on that piece of land. So you consider the overall factors. What are those investments, strategic investments that will go into that place to be able to create value? For us as a real estate company, we've understood this strategy, and therefore, before we start projects, we sit down deliberately to analyze the market situations. We consider how much are people selling in that area, how much do we intend to sell, what are the facilities we are intentional about bringing, what is the level of it's all about land and any other value that has been added on that piece of land. So you consider the overall factors. What are those investments, strategic investments that will go into that place to be able to create value? For us as a real estate company, we've understood this strategy, and therefore, before we start projects, we sit down deliberately to analyze the market situations. We consider how much are people selling in that area, how much do we intend to sell, what are the facilities we are intentional about bringing, what is the level of infrastructure that we are committed to bringing on that land, what level of comfort and sustainability are we willing to create in such an environment. These are factors that help us to be able to make sound decisions.
How do you rise as a real estate billionaire mogul? A lot of people ask me this question often. How do I become great as a real estate mogul? Through my experience, I've been able to understand what it means to be able to excel in the real estate space. That did not come at an easy space. For me, it took a lot of learning and dedication to bring me to the place I am today. And I believe anyone can be able to come to this point where he or she defines his portfolio in the real estate space. This is a space that guarantees high return on investment if you choose to be strategic about your approach on how to be able to excel in the real estate market space. So if you must succeed as a billionaire real estate mogul, there are a few things that I have learned over time that has helped me to distinctively succeed. Today, by the grace of God, we have offices in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Yola, US, and even in the UK. Strategically, we've been able to understand different terrains and the factors that influence real estate investment. And today, I will be glad to share with you key things that have made a distinction in the result we've experienced today. Over time, we've mastered the art and the strategy of developing good strategy that has given us strategic advantage to be able to succeed in this space. One of the key things that can help you to rise as a billionaire realtor or as a billionaire investor in this space is your huge understanding of the market. There are a few things to understand about market research when it comes to real estate. The first thing is, how do you position yourself at a strategic location, putting in mind costs and timeline of that return in investment? A lot of people don't understand these factors, and it has yielded them to poor decisions and has made them to fall as victims of either scams, poor return on investment as anticipated. One of the common mistakes I've seen people do is an unrealistic visibility about the market situation. When you want to go into real estate, it is important for you to take the location into context in consideration with price. Price is a high determinant factor to what will give you a sustainable result at the end of the day, because land is the major ingredients when it comes to real estate. And then you consider what you're putting on the land as an element to add to your initial cost, which is the cost of the land. So a lot of people don't put into cognizance where the location of the land is. What are the prices people are selling around those areas? What are the factors that can influence an increase in price if you're coming to add value in form of development? For me, I believe that you must be able to understand the terrain you're playing in and understand how price of property has appreciated within the period of time. There are certain things that happen in real estate that if care is not taken, you may make very fatal mistake that can ruin your investment. One of which is called market bloom. Market bloom occurs where people rush into a space in anticipation that the value of property in those places would appreciate within the short period of time. And in contrast, when there is low demand over the anticipated period of time, you realize that people investment crash because of low demand. Wherein there is low infrastructure development within that area, of course, that will play a major risk. That will play a major factor in determining whether the return anticipated will come or not. I've seen people who have anticipated that this location is good, this location is perfect, is going to yield high return. I've made such mistakes, but you don't have to make such mistakes. And that is why I'm here to guide you on how you will be able to choose good location. Number one thing you should consider when choosing location is how viable it is development over time and in the future. Are people looking forward to this area as a place for investment as well? Are you willing to create so much value in this area that your weight and capacity can also add value to that land? Because if you have a piece of land and you go forth to develop that piece of land and did not bring the desired value, you realize that your anticipated profit would not be there, and thereby you would be making very risky mistake, and even your investors may not end up enjoying those investments. So it is important for you to put the location of that place into consideration before starting that investment. The second thing you must put into consideration is market viability and capital investment. It is important to note that the amount you're willing to invest in a property can actually tell on the return on investment you would get within a period of time. So let's say you're investing low amount of money in a place where the location is not lucrative. It means that you would have to inject more money, which is not planned, into that project for you to get the desired result. So it is good that you do a complete visibility on the cost of the land you're buying. And I will always advise anybody who wants to invest in real estate, it is important to take advantage of cash, to take advantage of your negotiation ability, to take advantage of the understanding of the market as a skill to enable you negotiate the price of properties well. Because your inability to price it well and to consider your selling price after considering all your costs is of importance, and you cannot neglect that aspect of cost at the beginning. Then you have to look at what are those things you're willing to add as value to that investment in order for you to have good return on investment. Because mind you, real estate is all about land and any other value that has been added on that piece of land. So you consider the overall factors. What are those investments, strategic investments, that will go into that place to be able to create value? For us as a real estate company, we've understood this strategy, and therefore, before we start projects, we sit down deliberately to analyze the market situations. We consider how much are people selling in that area, how much do we intend to sell, what are the facilities we are intentional about bringing, what is the level of infrastructure that we are committed to bringing on that land, what level of comfort and sustainability are we willing to create in such an environment. These are factors that help us to be able to make sound decisions. The next thing we consider when making sound decision is market knowledge. We understand the value of property across different areas, and then we do what we call economic of scale on the basis of those investments. Which one is the best investment that we should go in? Which one will give us the best return on investment? Because there are many options, and you cannot try to enter into this space with only one option. It is important to consider multiple options so that it will give you a strategic advantage to be able to consider your return and be able to consider whether you're taking a short-term investment or a long-term investment. There are benefits to both short-term and long-term investment, and you must be able to consider which one are you going for at the moment and which one suits your need at the moment. For me, for both cases, they can produce the same rate of return if you understand the strategy behind each of them. For commercial property or rental property, you may look at it from mid-term to long-term. For land banking, you can look at it from a short-term perspective. But I can tell you, for those who hold for long, more than 2 years tend to benefit maximally, because at that time, the people who are looking to invest in such property are mostly people who are looking forward to building their houses or completing the project, because by then the level of development would have increased and the level of activity would have multiplied, and therefore creating so much value. And if you're that person whose appetite is not long, or you have some money and you don't want to do long term, you can do short term. But whether long term or short term, it depends on your strategy and the circumstance you find yourself in order for you to make good decision. One important thing that people don't consider as an important factor is the risk factor. Now, I don't fear risks in business, I accept risks. But the wise way to accept risks is to be strategic about your risks by understanding those risk factors and creating mitigants for them. There are many risks that you cannot create mitigants for. The best way to manage those risks is to avoid them. But avoidance may not completely be the best option because people are not strategic and problem-oriented when they go into business. And I want you to know, one thing unique about business is that expect to find challenges. Challenges you don't even see, challenges you don't even anticipate they would come. And that is the place of scenario planning in running any business. You need to plan your strategies rightly, understand what are the risks that can impound on your business. Which one thing you should consider is the pestle theory of risks, which include the political factors, economic factors, social factors, environmental factors, and legal factors. It is important for you to consider the pestle theory of risk management when it comes to managing risks in business. One of the most crucial is the pestle theory. And for pestle, it means what are the political factors? What are the economic factors? What are the social factors? What are the technological factors? What are the environmental factors? And finally, what are the legal factors that impound on your business? Your ability to understand all of this would help you to strategically navigate the risks that are embedded in the business when they crystallize at every point. It is your responsibility to put in measures in place for you to be able to manage these risks. For example, if you are exposed to a political tension in an environment, do you have political friends and associates that you can call them and they have people in strategic places that they can be able to calm the situation on your behalf? These are advantages that you need and relationship you must build across board. When it comes to economic factors, do you consider the economic environment and consider the volatility and the risks associated with them? And what will you do if these risks crystallize? Social factors, they could be social unrest, they could be social crises that may erupt in certain places. What strategic advantage do you have with security agencies and people to be able to protect your investment when these risks crystallize? It is important to also consider technological factors. What are the level of technologies that you have available that you're willing to deploy in your business as far as real estate is concerned? I remember when we started our real estate business, the first thing I considered is the issue of double allocation. I was looking forward to avoiding the concept of me allocating plots to people, especially when the business grows. So the first thing I did was to be able to develop a software that will help me to be able to automate my system and make my processes easier. That is the place of bringing technology into the business. There are many things you can use AI now to be able to help you do in order for you to be able to understand what is happening in the environment. The second thing you should consider is environmental factors. There are certain places that they have regulation as to the environment, the number of houses to be built in a specific area of land, the types of houses you build, how you create or form the waste management. There are many factors to consider as far as the environmental impact assessment of that area. It's important to consider. And what is the legal framework that covers from title to development to handover? These are information you need that will help you to strategically position yourself for success in real estate. Over time, I have come across several of these challenges, but because of my ability to be able to understand these challenges and I've been able to provide mitigants that help me overcome these challenges when they arise, has given me a strategic advantage to be able to solve these problems when they arise. I've experienced several challenges as I grow in business, and my ability to solve them systematically has been able to give me success. And let me tell you the truth. What is success to me? Success is the ability to solve problems as they come. And in life, you would experience several challenges and problems. But how well you're able to navigate through these challenges and problems is what truly defines if you will be successful at anything or do anything well. So when it comes to real estate, it is important that you consider government policies around those areas. You consider several factors as to the building regulations that exist in those areas. You consider the market volatility. You consider the rate of appreciation of properties. You consider unforeseen circumstances that may be related to real estate. Beyond what I have said, because these factors can differ from place to place and environment and government policies. These are things you must be really conversant with and be knowledgeable about, because taxes can play a major factors in real estate depending on places. These are information that you need to equip yourself with in order for you to navigate those business environments efficiently. In Nigeria, it's very easy to succeed and the return on investment is really massive. And people don't understand how massive these opportunities are, and they tend to see that for some factors such as devaluation of naira and inflation, which poses a negative impact in the Nigerian real estate space, they try to avoid these problems. But let me tell you, your ability to understand what to do in these areas by getting knowledgeable about the economic factors and getting prepared before you enter such real estate investment is quite necessary, and I think it's important that any person who wants to be a billionaire in real estate must understand. The next and most important thing you need to be equipped with is your ability to understand real estate investment. It is important that you understand how property appreciates in different areas and which one would give you good returns. I can bet you we're very good at that, and we understand what it means to invest in the cities we play in, because it is important for us to come up with good viability for us as a company. There is one thing that is important for us and what distinguishes us and has helped us to become a billionaire real estate company. One of the things that has helped us apart is the ability to create substantial value for our customers within a period of time. For us, we've understood that nobody enters real estate without looking forward to huge return on investment. And one of the key things we've tried to do as much as possible is to be able to do a visibility studies, to be able to guarantee some level of return on investment. And that is embedded in our strategy to understand what the investment looks like in different areas in Abuja. And it is important that you equip yourself in the areas you play. What is the rate of return? How is the possibility of that place improving and developing within the shortest period of time? What value are you willing to create within this time that your customers or even yourself would benefit over a period of time? These are factors that are essential for you to be able to succeed sufficiently. You must also understand the concept of affordability and cost as a strategic advantage. How do you be able to create affordability in a way that you beat your competitors? Because you can use price as a strategy. It is important for you to be able to put in your negotiation skills, to be able to cut down the cost of operation, to be able to cut down the cost of construction, and be able to deliver substantial value at the end of the day. Not minding quality, because quality is very important when it comes to value delivery as far as real estate is concerned. You must overemphasize the concept of putting value when it comes to quality. It is important you put this into perspective if you must succeed as far as real estate is concerned. And lastly, what is the most crucial factor you should consider when it comes to real estate investment? You must put time into perspective. A lot of people invest without actually projecting what is the timeline of this investment. You must be intentional about the timeline it takes for your investment to give its result. And from the beginning of the project, you must be specific in considering whether you're going into short-term projects, long-term projects, and mid-term projects. Your inability to position yourself strategically in this area of timing can put your business at risk. Just imagine if you get investors' money and you promise them that you're going to get your money after 2 years. And what you've actually planned for is for a 4-year project based on the strategies you're putting in place. That will actually impound on your business success. And at the end of the day, investors may not end up getting the return they anticipate in the business you're running. So it is important to consider this timing as crucial and important before you venture into real estate. These are things we've deliberately put out plans on how we should execute them. Now, let me wrap up by saying, irrespective of how well you know these things theoretically, it is important for you to have a deliberate plan and strategy on how to be able to execute these things with time. Your inability to put a plan and to put KPIs that would help you to be able to measure the success of each of these initiatives is crucial. You can have all the knowledge that you need to have on real estate, but it is important for you to document all your strategy and put structures in place in order for you to be able to achieve your either short-term, mid-term, or long-term plan in real estate. So I've seen people who are quite knowledgeable about what to do, how to go about it, but they don't have the discipline to put in all the strategies into perspective and make sure that for each of the initiatives they are putting in place yield the result they need to do that. And for you to be able to succeed sustainably, you need to be able to measure your performance per time. You don't have to wait until the end of the project before you come back to look at what is working and what is not working. It is important that from day one, you put in yourself in tight shoes to be able to measure your performance on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, and on a biannual basis. That will help you to be able to see areas you're not performing so that you can optimize your process and make sure you deliver on the good result. If you've not followed us on this episode on how to become a billionaire realtor, please like and follow us so that you get to hear more on how you can become a billionaire mogul through real estate. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to talk to you about real estate anytime, any day.